evenly split, actually. So, basis of the VIP tipping anyway, this should be a fairly tight, even series we have here, with Flatline being slightly in favor by 2 votes on the Ghoul set. 4 votes in favor on the Blight set and 4 votes in favor on the Mastermind set. So this Flatline's slightly in favor, but it is fairly close here as we load in. Looking at Bravo's build, we've got Thana, Eruption, Painers, and Corrupt, and I'm no Oracle, but I'm assuming he's going to be running Coffee plus something else, and that's going to be connected Satchel, so maybe some cutoffs if we're lucky. And looking around at the generators here, it seems that we have just a fairly standard 3-1-3 split on Suffer Pet, and he's just checking out his Corrupt, seeing if he can find any selfie survivors at the edge map here. And I do believe we heard some breathing, but no, I think that was just Kaneki himself. But Nosy, thoughts on who's more likely to take the set here?
Well, ultimately, when we're looking at cross-ping sets, it's going to be the team that's got the best macro and how well they are prepared to play on ping. And I've noticed as well in a lot of these Ghoul sets, because we've seen a fair few of these coming up today and just playing recently, that Thanos seems to be a pretty light perk among Ghoul players. Probably because Ghoul can just get so many free tags, as we've seen here, where survivors have just started touching the gens, and yet we have 2 tags. One's in the chase, and we've got 2 injured survivors stuck top. I reckon Bravo's going to be playing for this top 3 gen. If he doesn't, then I'll be completely confused. But he's in a very good spot here with very little gen pressure. Anyway, just getting the swing through the pallet. Smonk, like, with a first chase like that and the little amount of gen procs we have, you reckon Bravo's in the driver's seat here?
Yeah, he's definitely had a pretty good start so far. He has his pain raises kind of homeless. Looking at bottom as well, he could even decide to hold this bottom 4 if he wanted to, as he does have 2 sort of in the choke here, and they're pretty evenly split here with 1 in the shack and then 1 behind the logs there. So he's got some decent gen spreads, and he can kind of pick his poison here, and he's getting active down where he knows that the generators are being worked, but he can't see anyone that's relatively close to being tagged. At least he has an active gen here that he can apply his eruption onto. He's wasn't able to use a pain res there. Wasn't one close enough to where the down happened, unfortunately, but that's okay. We get the eruption proc, try kick that, and just kind of proxy our survivor here, as our mark is about 25% of the way left on. And I think we just heard someone walking the generator. Yes, we did. We got kind of stuck there with the Ghoul power. Unfortunately, no bite coming through from those 3 token usages. We do lock in on Prada over here by the midsection. And as he commits to the chase here, we see in the background on the HUD that Jake has generated about just over the 75% mark. But Bravo very concerned about that hook there. Doesn't want anyone sniping that at the last possible minute. And he really wants his bite as well so he can get his 3rd token and enrage value. Unhook coming through onto Biru in the background as well. And I dare say Bravo might be going back for that tunnel out if he's able to get a quick chase. But no, he's completely ignoring the unhook despite spending so much time proxying in and making sure that there was no one going for it. Instead, he's opting to go for a bite onto Jake, who's just popped the gen in this bottom corner here now. Committing onto the chase here, he does have the shack to work with. I wouldn't be surprised if Bravo does opt to leave the chase, and that he does. Ideally trying to get more bites around. He does find Prada once more. Now, Thana, not a great perk unless you can get all 4 injured, which might just be happening here as we get a bite onto Songbird. And now all we need to do is transition onto a bite for Prada to get the max value out of that Phobia, which is the 22% you get from all 4. So I was being injured. We do get a bit of a tier 3 vault there. No revolt coming in, so this should be a nice and quick down for Bravo, right in the middle on his choke, and that's a fantastic spot for a survivor to die for him, but a massive, massive kick in the nuts for the survivors here, Nolsey.
Yeah, 100%. As we're going to see this pain res coming out, before going into the bot side to chase a survivor, losing your talent has kind of led Bravo to be a bit pushed back in terms of how much pressure he can mount. But with now the 2nd tunnel out being on the hook, our survivors being hooked previously, being injured, somewhere working the top side, and we found where the reset is, and we're going to be mounting these standard stacks constantly. The gen pressure is going to start to slow down, really allowing Bravo to just capitalize on the mistakes of the survivors. As well, when we see, like in these Ghoul sets, that Ghoul itself is such a strong killer in this 1v1 chase, that going down here is so costly for Prada and just his whole team in general, because now they're not going to be able to capitalize as much on gen pressure. You're going to have someone being in chase, someone going for the pickup, and having a survivor slugged as well, which is really bad for the team. And seeing our tunnel out going back to where the slug was and giving that kick grenade lead, Smog, I think that we can safely say Bravo is definitely able to capitalize on these, and if he does, it's going to spell bad news for the team.
Absolutely. He's definitely got a lot of pressure on the board here, but another gen has popped in the background. Prada's still on the floor as well. We baited out the third here, but we're looking to try and get a revolt there. Doesn't quite come through, though. It might be a bit awkward to actually get revolts on ping. I don't know how that interaction actually transpires on ping, but we see the background. In the background, we see the pull happening there. Ada immediately on another generator as well. A full reset actually onto Prada from Jake there, but Songbird now getting hooked right next to the shack here, deep in this pocket. And it seems Bravo is more interested in keeping these bottom side generators rather than his main side generators now that he's only got 2 up there now. Keeping the shack gen and then these 2 in the choke here, I think is his best bet because he can kind of pressure both these generators while also simultaneously holding the choke to prevent anyone from topside running down. But sending it right up the top of the map here, we get a beautiful bite onto Biro here, which will reset our enraged meter, allow us to apply eruption onto this generator, and then with our tokens coming back there, we should be able to go down to the bottom side of the map and interrupt that pull onto Songbird. Of course, we're only just now going to get our tokens back, and I'm unsure if we're going to be able to get the reset onto Songbird or what we're going to be able to do to sort of get Songbird out of dodge. We do find someone over by the rock set, but I do think it is Prada trying to pull a little bit of attention away from Songbird. Songbird needs to not get down here and stealth as long as humanly possible, but we've been caught at the shack. Now, this is one of the better places to get caught here. We do have Kaneki Satchel if we can go for a cheeky little cutoff, but no, it does not come to fruition. Songbird doing the smart thing there and just pre-dropping that shack part. We need to go for an absolute runner of a chase here. We can't afford to go down any earlier, but they've gone for a very successful body block there on that pal, but it doesn't matter because we're playing on the suffocation pit and we have a 13 paths basically just hugging each other next to any given resource. But coming to the M1 chase here, we go for the power fake, doesn't quite come through. We lose at 50, eruption procking on Biru's generator there, and that will be Songbird out of the match. First survivor dead at 3 gens. Prada's gens just over the 50% way of the mark. I wouldn't be surprised if Biru's is also about 50% of the way, and also we're going for a bit of a pre-soft there. That was actually a gen being doubled in the choke there, and Biru's generator is at a similar position there being done. So we're on track with the gens. The gen pressure is there, but we are kicking this mid-gen without having eruption off cooldown. So going to be committing to a chase now onto Prada. Prada taking that bite mark. Not really much you could do about that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Barvo does drop this chase and go back up to his active generators. He's probably concerned about that gen that he knows Biro has been working on in the background, but he fights Jake instead, and that will be the final injury of the game, of course. With a survivor dead, we can't get our max stacks of Thaner anymore, but we very nicely position ourselves in that path there, but given the ping there, we might get tagged, but no, we're not quite in the position they can get pinged. And oh, the fake on the window. Bravo buys it fully. Unfortunately there, Jake will also just fake that window as well and position himself in the pallet, but no, he goes around the loop, transitioning to another tile completely, and now we're on the BL here. He has a lot of really good resources. It might be in Bravo's best interest just to break this pallet and break up these middle gen resources just a little bit. We've also caught Prada coming back to the generator here to try and finish it up while the chase is happening, but we've done a really good job of intercepting this and now chasing around this Ormond tile here, but no, we have another tile. This is a really strong setup, and especially on suffocation, but now you have these really awkward tiles like the snake tile that this generator's in. It's a bit of a bastard to play around if you're someone like Ghoul, where you have to rely around your M1 chase to secure a down. Of course, you have the mobility from your power to assist you with that, as well as also, you know, the ability to vault off the powers, etc. But it's still not easy to do, Nolsey.
No, 100%. And we actually saw Ghoul struggling just to get that down, even though it was on an injured player. And dying in the right spot here from Prada would absolutely be what this team needs. But going down in the 3-gen is not what we need to see from Prada. And we need to see him getting to that top. But this mid-gen, I do not agree with working with the bottom gens here, trying to keep this 3-gen, because there's a lot more split than the top side. So my thoughts is with Bravo, is he able to properly flourish from working this, protecting these bot side gens? And by looks things, yes, because he's just able to keep catching out the survivors, making sure that they stay down in his 3-gen, and being able to constantly apply pressure and making sure these mid-gens aren't worked on top of having every survivor injured who's in the game right now. It's Semipro are definitely in a rough spot. Best case scenario, I think they can still get out, but they're gonna have to play a perfect macro, and every survivor's gonna have to be healthy. Even though we see this gen at 11, 10 popping right now, we see Springburst coming in from Barry, getting a bit of extra distance, but is Bravo gonna chase this? Will champions like come in? It's gonna allow the survivors who are bot to reposition back top and potentially play a slow, stealthy game, and hoping they're not just pumping this gen, but we see some scratch marks. Oh, Smog. The survivors do not need to get caught out here, but they just have. It's going to give Bravo so much info they can use to capitalize on this. What do you think?
I think Barber made a critical mistake during that hooking there. He had like 3 pain raises around him and he opted to go for a non-pain res hook, and I don't really know why. He used pain res on the Songbird. That's the only token he's used. He hasn't used it on Prada as far as I'm aware. Well, he can't because he was fresh, duh. But like, if he had been just hooked on a pain res rather than just not on one of the pain reses, he would have been able to. Oh my god! But he's found Jake at the edge map here by Shaq. That's a great boon for Bravo here. But if he was able to get that pain res from Prada, he would have been able to preserve that hill gen there. And he would have been able to just commit to Beero and down him and then go back and maybe play around a slug and looking at down the barrel of a 4K2. But now with not getting that pain res, it's allowed the survivors so much time to just regain a bit of momentum and control in the set here and commit to some safer gens. But I say safer gens, but all of the generators are on the side of the map, and of course Bravo knows that they're on the top side resetting. That's where it would have had to happen. There's nowhere they're resetting down bottom, so he can kind of just comfortably sit on top of his active generators here, and he just saw someone over there lurking away, and I think that might have been a little bit of bait to try and get someone else to stealth down and get Jake off the hook, but set definitely grinding to a little bit of a slower pace here now. Our survivors here on Semi-Pro do have to play it super safe. We have Ada, of course, walking down this edge map there. This is our sprint burst player, so she can do a pretty decent job, but that's an egregious spite. We are so far away from the ghoul for that to be proccing. But that's a ping moment, I guess, and Beero going to be just taking chase towards the basement. Very interesting position for Beero. I'm surprised he didn't just opt to go to, all the way up top. Maybe this is intentional to try and keep Bravo's focus on him, but with a bit of a bite vault there, he's just going to be going down right next to where this hook is, and that's just curtains for Beero here, unless Ace is actually just working a generator and not going for the unhook at all and trying to get that 4K0 result. I don't really know what the method was there, but we're just on the hunt for Prada. Prada not able to get to the unhook in time, and now we see Jake going into second stage. It's gone a hell in a handbasket for our survivors here. We did see a crow just fly up there, so that might have been Jake finally going for the save there. It's a little bit too late, though, as we're just going to be pulling a Deathhook survivor. But now we have 2 survivors on the Deathhook next to the shack, and I just don't know what you do in this situation if you're semi-pro. Do you sneak a gen? Do you try and just pull people out the basement and pray to God that something can happen? What's the method here, Nolsey?
I think the method here right now is to recalibrate the mental and get into this next set and this next kill game with just a clear head, because having 2 survivors in your 3-gen in the 3v1 is not what we need. As we see Scratch Marks catching this last survivor, the 4K1 is imminent, and at this point we're only just stalling just to see if we can get that bit of extra. Oh! Beautiful! Fat body block. Bravo noted himself. He's definitely happy with that one. And he's got to be. With this 4K1 performance, he's played incredibly well, capitalizing on every single mistake the survivors made. And although Thana is considered not to be that strong of a perk, seeing just that extra 6% regression throughout the whole 3v1. Really, Smonk, what do you think is going to happen this one? Because in the last set, we saw a ton of that happened at 4K, 4 gens, or 3 gens. And the amount of pressure that Bravo was able to mount just constantly put the survivors on the back foot, ultimately lead to the 4K1. Do we think we're going to see similar results to that in this game, Swan?
I think Flatline, given this is their pick, of course, so Survivor's going to be much more confident on the set there and playing in terms of micro against the ghoul. And looking at the killers loadout here, we have the same add-ons as before with the satchel and the coffee, which seems to be fairly popular. And instead of the Thanatophobe, we have Ruin and Dying with Pain Res and Eruption. No Corrupt, by the way. So we're just going full send, next day delivery, Amazon Prime. We're sending it down map. Just looking for survivors. We already hear some progress over by main there, and we do find Micah on the Quante Young. This is our sprint burst play. We're immediately pre-throwing that, and we managed to dodge the bite actually, and waste 2 of our tokens. So we're going to be breaking that power. They're resetting our tokens back down to 0, and trying to play around this field to the best of our ability is Micah, and doing a really good job so far avoiding that bite. We do escape the injury, but unfortunately we still get the mark on our person anyway. So the ghoul does have his Enrage up now, but at least now, because there's no bite, of course, it's immediately ticking down, so we only have the Enrage just for a little bit until we do manage to secure this bite. But dodging the bite once more, but no, it finally comes to fruition as we do secure that bite, and we're heading back down to Shack immediately. But looking around these gens, we have a bit of a 4-gen top here, so if we're able to keep these gens here, that would be a great boon for Prada, and we can already hear that main building gen is cranking away there, and unfortunately not quite able to get the bite there onto Saki. Saki continuing the chase around main building here, to the best of their ability and making good use out of those ruined totems. The buy comes through here. Now we have 2 people marked on the board. Micah only just now clearing their deep rune there, but Saki just next again sending it all the way down bottom. We do have a little bit of a 3-gen bottom if we manage to lose those 4 generators, but we find once more Bravo here. But with the firecracker blind, able to escape just a little bit, but using the power of our ears, we do find Micah here at this filler tile. If he goes down here, that will be really bad for Flatline, as we're going to be hooking right on top of an active generator, and with the bite bolt there, we're going to be trying to make that bolt, but I think with ping, we're going to be going down, and that will be the first down of the game. No gens done just yet, but Bravo diligently working in this water tower. Gen's going to be interrupted immediately, and Ruin's going to be putting in work here with the pain res right next to it. This is an unfortunate place to go down. Pain res on top of the most active generator. Yes, it sucks to see, Nolsey.
Yeah, and one thing as well, just the sheer amount of gen regression that Prada has gone for here. He doesn't care about slowing the game down to start, making sure he gets his early tags. He wants to go in, and he wants to go in fast. And we see that coming in with ultimately little gen pressure from the survivors, just because of how fast Prada was able to get 2 tags at the start of the game and then get this hook on top of that onto the painters. And we're going to see this double ruin doing lots of work down these bottom side gens, which ultimately we've decided maybe this is the best way to play it. Being able to protect a 4 gen, it's nice, but getting the hook onto 3 gens that have progress and you can constantly just harass with ruin is just going to mean that the survivors wasted a fair amount of time in this bot section here. And besides, the 4 gen is a bit spread out and the 3 gen is a lot tighter. Prada understanding that this is the way to go. We're going to see that first totem getting destroyed there, but with survivors still on the hook, and we see Survivor just done a totem, we see a Survivor injured, Survivor on the hook. Really, you can only send 1 Survivor to actually get this unhook here, and we're just gonna see Bravo get through, but the snipe from the Kagune leaf, able to secure that tag and get the down on Bravo. Smonk. Prada, I reckon he's feeling himself right now. I'm not gonna lie. And you're gonna see another tag come in for another gen, but ultimately, Smonk, the amount of gen pressure the survivors have compared to the amount of injuries they're given and the little chase time, I reckon Prada can definitely capitalize on it.
Absolutely, we got another down here. We did manage to get the unhook onto Micah at the very last moment there, but we got all 4 survivors injured. Pain res on the generator next to the hook as well, and immediately off to the races, trying to capitalize on the fact that all 3 survivors are injured. We are playing around a really tough win con. If we want to take the set away from Flatline, we do have to meet that 4K2 result. The next best thing is, of course, the tie at 4K1, but we do get the revolt there. That's very cheeky. I thought you had to go a bit wider for that, but what do I know? I'm not a survivor player, but Max able to just run away there, just taking the power break as well. Will be Prada heading back down the map, trying to secure a bite onto Saki, which does come to fruition, thankfully. So this should be a 1-for-1, but we're not going for the 1-for-1 trade. We're just taking the injury and buggering it off there. Prada is now got all the survivors once more injured on the board, so now we need to slow down the game again and reset, which means getting off the gens. We still have Ruin back on the board, but Max should know where it is, and there it goes. Ruin finally off of the playing field, but now Saki down in the choke. We know where 1 survivor is because we just broke the Ruin. That would have been Max. Micah reset himself in the background with a med kit, probably. So, in terms of what the survivors are doing, none of them are really in a position to go for a save unless Micah managed to reset himself fairly close. And seeing Micah going for the pull now, we're immediately dropping and going for the bite here. He has to pull, but if we get the bite at the right time, Bravo might just go second stage, but no, very last second pull there. We don't go second, and Bravo desperately trying to take a body block, but no, we go down. That will be Micah. Micah getting put back up on the hook straight away. We're not even going to bother with the slug game because he's got 15 seconds of BT. He's got enough time and distance to go all the way up main, so he may as well just secure our hook, get our points, and that time a ticking. But we see the scratches lingering nearby for Bravo. Max also reset himself in the background. It was probably in his strength if he was the one to cleanse the totem, but we're just immediately hopping locket there. Will be Bravo, but we're not going for the pull there. Instead, we're just going straight back down map and going for the unhook. Very early unhook onto Micah. We sort of opened Prada up for a potential tunnel out here onto Micah, and if he's able to get the down nice and quick, this might spell troubles for Team Flatline. It could be curtains for the ghoul set, but that remains to be seen. We've still got a little bit of BT in our back pocket for Micah. Micah's got 1 more volt in the T-wall, but he's got nothing to work with. He's got sprint bursts, there's no dead hard, no light, no nothing like that, and with the swing, he goes down. We've got a death at 3, similar position to what we saw our previous killer Bravo having in his set. So if all goes well, this could be another 4K1 result here. here, but with Max still deep-rooted and injured somewhere, and the generators not having any progress, the gen pressure is just not there. We've chewed up a lot of resources. We've got another injury on Bravo very shortly, but we've missed the bite. Prada now committing to a chase with the Bravo at the top side of the map here. We need to get this bite really quick, because if we want to get that 4K2 result, this chase cannot last for very long, as we need to get those injuries coming, and we get the injury onto Bravo. Now we're going to go try and find Saki, I reckon, and see if we can interrupt those gens that are very likely being progressed in Aussie.
Yeah, 100%. When we saw in the last game, when the tunnel came out, the survivors were able to just be pumping gens and really put the pressure on Bravo, really put it into the test. But Flatline here, with the tunnel coming out, they've spent too much time cleansing totems, adjusting, healing themselves when they were giving tags, and ultimately what it led to? Led to 2 more tags. Max just going down at the 7 here. Going to be another pain res, and what do the survivors have to really kind of combat this? We have a survivor who's injured and is still marked, and we have a survivor who's healthy, being Saki. But Saki going down earlier with a survivor on the hook, with an injured survivor, and Micah just finishing the reset. We have to thank Smog that there was nothing really being done in that time. There was no gen progress coming out, and it's really starting to bite Flatline here, with Prada being able to fully capitalize, especially with the heavy slowdown they've brought into this trial. Catching Saki for the getting the unhook in the background. Saki gonna be getting tagged by the Kagune leap, re-giving Prada back his extra dash, and we're just gonna see Prada leave. And honestly, I think that's the best play he can make it, because we see the heal come out. We know survivors haven't gone too far from this 7 corner, and being able to play in this bot 3 gen is what Prada's gonna be willing to look for. But seeing both survivors get out, they're guaranteed to at least make top here. Whether or not the chase can be that long, but somehow the pallet does not exist. I love face-hugging walls, and we're gonna see that tag coming through onto Max, and not much distance gonna be able to get made. We're gonna get to this mid-top, was it like multi-lane war, but after that, what do we have? We have a window, a double vault with a hope and a prayer as we get to this top, and die in the right spot here in this 3 corners is going to be huge. But we're going to leave to catch Saki out with no pallet, hope and a prayer, and we're just going down there. Smog, what can Flatline do in this situation?
Well, they got the gen pressure that started to get back on the foot. Saki's gen has about 50% of the way on it. But with this painters coming through, it's going to kick it right in the nuts here. Max being injured once more. Bravo likely during that chase as well, working one of the bottom side generators. Max now finally removing his deep wound, will be able to get on a generator himself. But with the pain res not actually afflicting this generator, oh my god, that's like 75% too. That tells Prada a lot of information. If that 75% gen wasn't the most done, then they've got a gen down the bottom there that's even more done. And I don't think he really meant to vault that pal there, but that's okay. I think he can hear Hanato though. He's caught out Max with his supersonic hearing. He has the spirit EQ on, but going for a generous swing there doesn't quite come to the fruition. Your ping's not that high, mate. Calm down, but continuing the chase onto Max, he might just need to drop this actually and try and go for Bravo, but actually no, he doesn't need to. He can commit to Max as long as he wants here, but he's seen Bravo scratches rotating for the unhook here, and with a bit of a bite, this might force Bravo to go back down map, and we've just lost our... Oh, what is going on here? Why did he M1 swing? Okay, we're bugged. Dead by Daylight. What the fuck?
Well-designed game, Smog.
Okay, man. This is awesome, actually. The ghoul is so cool. We're continuing the chase into Bravo, where the Bright should have come in, but instead the sticks and glue have kind of fallen apart. We get the M1 anyway. Max is kind of forced to go back down bottom side and try and get that gem, but with the M1 tag coming through, Prada's trying to keep an ear out for Max to see if he's going back down bottom map, but we see Bravo trying to play the 50s around the LWT, but I think the pressure's getting to Prada as we unfortunately just swing at that box there. Saki in the background going over to second stage. We don't fall for the 50-50 here. Finally, Bravo going down. Max, I don't know if he's going to be working a generator down bottom side or not, trying to get down to this 4K2, but even if he greases generator and pops it, it doesn't matter in the end, because we need to have 2 generators pop to at least, at minimum, get to the tie con, but it's not looking like a W at max. We're going to be able to get a tie if we have a really, really good chase here, but Prada needs to try and ideally just kill Saki and force a 2v1 ASAP, but we've seen some scratches going into the main building, which we're not too keen to chase at, it seems. But with Bravo slugged, it does mean Max kind of has to go for. We found Max, though, out at the main building, getting the bite, so we're back in enraged mode, and with that bite coming through, it looks like Pride has an option to drop that chest and go back for Bravo, but we found Saki in the process, trying to rotate for the pickup, and if we could just kill Saki, we could be looking down the barrel of a 4K3. He's done God's work here, has applied so much pressure with his ghoul play here, and has kind of put Flatline on the back foot after a pretty reasonable start too, but we're just using the one token there. We don't go for any cheeky cutoffs, but the delayed vault there, Saki's playing these L-wall T-walls perfectly, winning every 50-50 known to man, holding all of the checkies, and we will be just continuing to win here. We actually just commit to the vault. We managed to pick up Bravo in the background too, but we run back into Prada as well, commit to the vault over here as well, and we're just keeping this going. This patch probably should have been broken a long time ago, but this chase just seems endless. We're trying so hard to use our power, but oh, this might be it. A bit of a ping hit over the window, but finally, Saki meets his demise, and he does go down. We're now finally in the 2v1 here, Nolsey.
Yeah, Saki really putting in, trying just to barely grasp at that hope and chance of getting out this game, and even meeting the win con, maybe even Tycon, but ultimately just going to lead to the demise at the hands of Prada's 45 caliber Smonk. And as we see Max go down, and Bravo's still injured with a gen that's 99, Smonk, honestly, in Team Semipro have put so much pressure on. Prada have really just outdone themselves, really capitalizing on all the time that he was able to buy with his double ruins, with all the tags he's able to get, really punishing the survivor rotation's mistakes. Because as we saw, when Max was running towards the 7 area, we saw Bravo trying to stealth up 9 to get the unhook, and ultimately that got him caught out and slugged on the ground, leading Max to really just have to try and figure out something to get the unhook. But ultimately, even though it did happen, and we did have all survivors up at one point, there was no gen progress. There was nothing. The survivors had a hope and a dream, and he got crushed by the iron grasp of Prada. And he's really showing that he's not messing around here. The ghoul, they picked it into him, and he's really showing that maybe it wasn't the best idea from Flatline, but kudos to Prada Smonk. 4K1 WinCon isn't typically what we try to see on ghoul sets. We normally see the high stages, yeah, but a 4K is just, you have to really capitalize on that. And Prada has doubled down on that understanding and has really shown that the ghoul can get so much pressure that the survivors are just stunned. There's nothing they can do. And although we catch Bravo just in the end here, are we going to get shot? We're not going to get shot, but Bravo just having one last hurrah, have a bit of a chase just to kind of boost the survivors' morale. But ping sets on this killer lead to some quirky and funny hits, I think it's fair to say, because we saw the one through the pallet, which we just love to see. But Bravo going down here, spelling the end of the match and the set of 1 point going to Semipro on the pick of Flatline Song. What do we think that Flatline has to think about going into this next set just to pull it back?
Well, you're going into Semi-Pro's pick of the Blight, so it's definitely going to be not in their favor. A 4K3 result there from Prada is exceptional. Like, just great work all around. You can't be mad with that, and that's like Bravo did well in his killer game. Like 4K1 on Ghoul is a really good result, and you set up Prada for a really tough win con of 4K2. And I said at the start of the match, you know, it's a tough win con, but you know, it is doable. Like, you never say never, right? But 4K3 in your own pick, that's really rough. That's a rough result, especially because we saw that, you know, Flatline, they're not a bad team at all. And they seem to be doing pretty well on the goal set, but the mid-game pressure was just too much for them to handle. They couldn't bring it back at all. There was no opportunity for them, and they tried very hard, but Prada just Hello everybody, welcome back to OSL. Sorry for that bumpy start there for the Blight set. We did have the survivors bring the wrong perks, so they brought self-cancer to Solidarity in one of their builds, so unfortunately that will be a restart, and they will receive a 0.5 point penalty, which just means no tie. There will be no ties this game. So, for example, if Prada here achieves a 4K1, and then next round we have Bravo play the Blight, and he also gets a 4K1, Flatline will lose due to the 0.5 penalty. So, no matter what, Flatline have to win here by at least half a point or a point, I suppose. So there's absolutely no tying, regardless of what Prada gets here as a result. Flatline can't afford to match it next game. They have to beat it, or else we will not be seeing that tiebreaker there of Mastermind. I think it was, if my memory serves me correctly, on Cocktail 1. But loading in here, ideally Prada gets a similar start here. Looking around, we might even have a 4-gen top if I just saw those gens correctly. I kind of looked away for a second. If Prada can just look over to 11 for me as a kindness. But we saw a loud noise notification at the main building. It looks like someone's trying to get his attention willingly, but no 4-gen, I'm silly. It is just a very tight 3-gen over here, but we have once again found Micah at main building, but I'm using a power again. Excellent flare there from Micah, going around the rock, dodging that Blight Rush there, and with a bit of a power drop there. We're a bit zone towards the edge map here, but Prada, very proficient at the Blighted Killer, and going for a bit of a vault there. That's going to be Finesse and Lithe on the side of Micah. So Finesse being a decent boon there on the ping sets. Unfortunately, that Cracker was not very well positioned, so no blind coming out for Micah there, but Prada doing his best to play around these resources to the best of his ability, building up speed, and we're at the last rush now, so we have to get a bit of a swing, but no, good spacing there from Micah. He will dodge that rush, and that's all 5 tokens gone, so he has quite a good bit of time now to just run around the main building here to his heart contents, and Max and Bravo are working away at a generator there on the back, and it's about 60% of the way. Saki working his own generator, and looking at the gens here, we have a similar gen setup to what we saw on the Ghoul set for Prada, where you have these sort of 4 gens around the bottom side, and we have found the high prog gen, but immediately eating that power there. Max thankfully not getting tagged through the power for the benefit of Flatline, and just kicking that generator, applying that eruption, looking for someone that might be stealthy nearby. We do find Bravo with the medkit. This might be our Delhi player. This is bad news bears for Flatline. If Bravo is our Delhi player, Nosy up and yapping for too long. What do you think so far, mate?
What do I think? I think Max, or Micah, sorry, was rather upset that he was, unfortunately, the reason for his team gain a 0.5 penalty. So he's really putting in for that first chase, leading the kill to leave. But Bravo is the Delhi smoke. We do not want the Delhi getting found and down at 3. Oh no, this is not, despite the great start that Flatline's had, getting their Delhi player caught out into this mid-map was just really tragic, because now we don't have access to one of the strongest perks in Dead by Daylight, in Deliverance, and the survive. And as we know from the perks that Bravo had, he's got to overcome. He doesn't have balance. He doesn't have some other exhaustion. He's got 15 seconds of borrowed time and a dream to play off of once he gets off that hook. Maybe an FTP if we're lucky, but Smog having the Delhi getting the first hook here and time means the Delhi's out of the game, and our Delhi play is the timeout, which is something that we never want to see. Micah just getting tagged down here at 5. We see Survivor going for the rotate and the eventual unhook. I believe it was Saki. Do they get the FTP off? No, we're just going to get the unhook, and we're killing the borrow time. Prada knows that this is the Delhi, and he wants him gone. He wants Bravo gone out of the game as soon as possible. Despite it, and Bravo's just going to get down at 7-9 here. And, oh, Smog getting that second chase so early and so fast has just brought the Survivor so little time to work on gens. And we're going to be pushing the Survivor into 10, knowing we're going to the mid-map to cook in the middle of his top 3 gen, Smog. How do we think this is going to look for the Flatline going throughout the rest of the game here?
It's a bit of a Amazon Prime Express tunnel out here onto poor Bravo. Unfortunately, thankfully, we did manage to pop 2 gens before the first stand, but with Pop Eruption in the back pocket here, main building generator is just going to be kicked right in the head there. All that progress is going to be going down the toilet, as well as Eruption flight onto it when we eventually do commit to the down onto Bravo. But I don't know what you do if you flatline here, but what you do is you pull as soon as the Blight starts kicking that main building generator just to get him out of the 3-gen, and Bravo all the way down here. Very impressive flick there from Prada, but it bears no fruits. And now Bravo will be able to head all the way down to the shack here. Saki does, I think, still have FTP. If he is our FTP player, of course. Turn back the clock as well from the distance, just to add a bit of insult to injury. I was fully expecting an FTP to come through here on the other side of the shack pallet onto Bravo, but no. We're just pre-throwing that and trying to buy as much distance as we humanly can. And Prada trying to use the hill here to buy a bit of a bird's eye view of where Bravo might have gone. And he's just kind of positioned himself in this filler pallet here. A bit of awkward pathing, though, on the side of Prada. And we're able to use that final rush there to break that pallet, but now Bravo, he doesn't really have a ton to work with. He has this filler pallet. It's actually a bit of a god rock here over next to the shack, but outside of that, we just got the shack window, no exhaustion to help us. We just got our little medkit that we can hold on to feel better about ourselves, but taking that fast vault into the shack there and then bolting back once more. Micah has downed himself in the background. Actually, no, that was that was plot twist. Which has triggered eruption on Max's generator. I was very confused for a second, but We do force the pull onto Bravo there. He will be dead. Max's generator will thankfully pop and we'll be down to 1 generator left. To the benefit of Flatline, they have been cranking motors. They've been hitting their skill checks. The Jennings have been flying. So they're in a position here to potentially pop all the gens and set a really good result for Bravo to play around here. But you still got 3 more gens to pop. And you have broken the 3 gen though. So while it's looking pretty grim for Flatline, Nolsey, it's not the end of the world.
No, 100%. As we see Saki preventing that hit, we see this gen hit not getting popped, turn back the clock, which means not going to have any eruption applied to it, and it's still going to be 80-ish%. Oh my god, Saki just flaring Prada here. Prada, he's really got to be nailing all these rushes, having short chases as soon as possible. Gonna be barely riding out that pop timer just to be able to kick this gen, get it down from 70. Not even, we're playing for a tag here, just getting it onto Max. But Saki down the map is going to be working these bot gens. Prada, I think, knows at this point he's playing stages. He's not going to be able to get the 4K, and with that pop running out, we're just going to leave. I don't know how much I agree with that one, but we're just going to leave. Nearly catching Micah out. Micah just realizing in time, Saki and Micah actually doubling this bot gen, which is even stranger, but we see it's on 50% with the top gen on 70. Prada just got to be getting these fast downs as soon as possible, playing for hooks because he knows that there's too much pressure and we can't be having these missed bombs from Prada. We've got to be getting these hits, getting them down as soon as possible, which just isn't happening. So the survivors, despite losing their deli at the start of the game, have been slamming these pistons, pumping them, getting them done as soon as possible to make up for the fact that Bravo was a deli player. And we saw that even at the start. Despite the Bravo getting found at the start with Delhi, 2 gens popped with it, and now as we go into our, probably will presumably be our last chase with Max at this 2 gen, the survivors must be happy getting this 2-6 bonk. What do you think of that? Just a blind set with 2-6 stages with Delhi getting tunneled out first.
It's a very impressive result here, but Max is going for an absolute burner of a chase. There's even a chance that with a couple of body blocks, both our doors are down bot side. We could even just get him out with a bit of a double save. This might even just be 4 stages. But a great flare from Max. He doesn't even go down yet. He's still got so much more time to get as close as humanly possible down to the doors. And he's heading it down there right now. He should have our bumps back. This might be a down onto him, but he does finally get the down there. But Prada, he has to force Micah and Saki out the door. He can't afford to go for the hook right now. That also opens up the survivors to a potential double save and a 4-stage 2 fresh result. But we're just going to be immediately leaving, not risking any nonsense there on the side of Flatline. We're very happy with the 6-2 result after finding the deli there on the side of Bravo. And how quickly that tunnel out looked like it could have been happening. It was an excellent recovery there from Flatline and just generally just textbook excellent play there. Hello everybody, welcome back to OSL Season 5, Week 3. This is the Season 6. Fuck, my bad. I'm old. Where am I?
Yeah.
Fuck, Semipro versus Flatline. I'm into it now. My brain's back. We're all together now mentally. Our faculties are in check. Flatline Suffocation Bit 1, this is Semipro speak. In case you missed it, we did see Semipro take away the ghoul set off of Flatline with a very impressive 4K3 from Prada, but when it was his turn to play the blind, only managing 6 stages with 2 fresh hooks. Very impressive survivor play from Flatline, but now it's up to the big Bravo to try and beat him out with 7 stages due to a minor penalty being dealt out to Flatline there due to a bit of a perk mix-up. We can't tie this, so no matching 6 stages. It will be a loss for Flatline, and Semipro will win the series 2-0. But Bravo, 7 stages on the blight, very, very doable. On the blight, we do find out Mr. I can't pronounce his name. Recky's Jake Park over by the shack here, and look at these generators. These are excellent bottom gens for Bravo. My God, he has no reason to leave these gens. This is disgusting, Nolsey.
Yeah, 100%. And even though we're just going to get flared there by Prada, Bravo understands that he's effectively got a 5-gen and he is going to play it. The 4-gen bot and this mid-gen, it just allows Bravo to be so hyperactive on this bottom side. And although we don't get the tag here, the fact that we still have those 5 gens that the survivors have to play into is just a huge, huge spell that Bravo is able to cast and just completely make the survivors go into him, allowing for Bravo to actually be in the capital position to kind of really play it here. But just getting this first tag in onto Reese's, I think I said that right. Who knows? We're gonna see the chase going down to 5, dying in the 4 gen. When you have a 5 stage win con, or 6 stage win con, because we had that penalty. It's a play. I definitely gotta say that. We want Reese's, but oh my god, we love DVD in all its glory. We love the pallet vacuums on the one. Reese's just going down here from a missed check spot, and Smonk. If we look at the build, they're the exact same Gen Destroyer build, and my word, can actually do a lot. But I think that was a triple Gen Smonk. I think there was so. Oh my god, yeah. It was so desperate to get that gen out of the way, but it set Beer up for a nice deli stealth. And even though it is in the 4 gen, I think Reese's might be a dead hard or decisive strike build because just of the way they were playing. It was so aggressive. I didn't see Smurfs, and yet we do have dead hard, even though it is the FTP. And we are going to spot Beer out, and I think Beer is going to be a boy in the unhook. He won't be able to get, and he knows that. Bravo catching the deli here is so huge, and then but we're just missing him, Smon. What is Bravo to do?
It's very unfortunate there. I didn't want to interrupt you, but yes, they did triple that generator near the mid there, just so that we didn't have anyone die within this really tight 4 gen on the bottom side. But unfortunately, Deli being found, and it looks like he's just going to next day delivery send it with his overcome and just make sure he can secure that deliverance play there. But the unhook coming through at a reasonable time as well, and now Bira just has to play around this power. Bravo looks like he's just going to be completely ignoring him though, and just getting that tag onto Jake there, just forcing out the deep wound as well, so no dead hard to help us out during this chase. We have balance landing in our back pod if it comes down to it, going for a bit of a late rush there onto Reese's, but it doesn't quite come to fruition there as he does manage to get that bolt in time. And now over to another Orban tile. We see another gen popping in the background there, but with this rush, this should be down onto Reese's. So a relatively quick down, but Prada about to pop another gen in the background as well. So they're on pace here, a bit faster than Flatline survives with. So this could potentially be 6 stages or worse for Bravo if he's not able to pick up the pace and get some downs going, get the ball rolling. We see Biro in the background as well, plot twisting, just trying to reset himself to the best visibility. It looks like Bravo's noticed that as well, and he's checking the edge map. He's looking for the plot twist, trying to see if he can intercept it potentially, but no, he's instead just rotating back over there, and Biro is all the way at 98 in the Z-wall, just chilling out there, resetting himself. And for a split second, we did see the aura for another survivor that is fairly close to this hook, but we're hooked right in the middle of the choke here. We have this 3-gen band at the bottom map as well. Once Spiro's reset himself, I dare say he's going to be immediately on one of those generators there just to try and break it up a little bit, and Prada on another generator as well. There's actually a gen down there that's just a bit over a quarter of the way, so the survivor's definitely got the motors cranking, and Bravo, he just wants to kill Reese's right here, right now. He wants to force his 3-1 as early as possible, but he's realized now that he can't really stick around for too long. He kind of has to apply pressure on his generators. This gen was getting doubled by both Ace and Steve. We get the tag onto Steve here, overcome, getting us very far away there. But Reese is getting the pull down in the background. All that camping, all for naught. We're getting the gen kick here, applying our eruption on this generator. And Bravo seems like he's not going back for the tunnel out. All that effort for nothing. He's squandering it. He wants to instead try and apply some pressure within his generators, as he thinks maybe that might be the best possible solution here. And I think Prada just kind of got stuck in a box. Not too sure what happened here, but we're just going straight down to the basement potentially. But oh, there was nearly an excellent flick there from the big Bravo, but it didn't quite come out into anything worthwhile. Now Prada trying to go for a window vault, but he fakes it to a roaring success, but unfortunately no mid fillers here, so he will be dying in his 3-gen, and with no deli or anything on his person. This is a really unfortunate place to die here, Nolsey.
Yeah, I think dying in this pod set is going to be truly detrimental for Team Semipro, even though we do have Deli up this time. It not being on Friday is just huge. And what a ping hit just around the corner. We gotta love the flick coming from Bravo, really securing that, removing the overcome. And just, are we going to see potential 2 habit? Because remember, we saw Beer using plot twists before, so it might be best to slug him, but we're not. We just want to recycle the pop, get back to turn back, and even get it out of the way. But the thing is, that gen at 5, we saw had huge amounts of pressure, and I do not know if Bravo is going to be able to properly get and prevent it from popping down here. But as we're just checking to make sure that no other gen's being worked on, we see this nice gen. We're gonna hit with a pop eruption. Have a bit of a look, check the lockers. Someone's gonna be in them, Bravo. Trust me, I'm not gonna check that second one. But this gen down here we see is was 90 before, but now it's just gone down to 10%, which is really detrimental because this is the true 3-gen. Despite the not getting the full timeout onto Reese's and walloping it, might I add, not getting the timeout onto Reese's may be truly detrimental for Bravo in the long run. But if he keeps having these short chases and pretty much preventing the survivors from getting to the top of the map, forcing them to play in his 3-gen, Smunk, Bravo's just in a set position here.
Absolutely, considering as well, gotta keep in mind, he only needs 7 hooks. Or alternatively, he's 6'3", and he's got 3 fresh hooks, so he only needs 2 more hooks of anyone. And he looks like that's going to be Prada by the looks of things. He's just forced to die corner in the 3-gen. We got a bit of an animation bug there, which was a bit goofy to look at, but committing to the chase here onto Prada at the edge map. He's got to make a man out of a molehill here. We see that mid-gen finally popping in the background, but this will spell the end of Prada eventually, but he's playing around this edge map crap forever. Hell, speaking of mountains, my goodness, Bravo looking up into the sky, praying to God, praying to the entity. He's like, my goodness, I just need to get that down, and I couldn't get it done. You can tell he's not very happy with himself, but he knows he only needs 2 hooks. Realistically, he could just like down Prada in the basement and camp it, and that'd be a big W. So, yeah, that's 0, mate. You can't kick that. But he's got 0 progress on these gens. They've got nothing down here, so they're just going to do a full reset at top side of the map and then tackle it as a 4-man. The one benefit that Semipro do have here is that they've got everyone alive, so they can tackle the gens pretty heavy-handedly with 3 survives on generators while the chase is happening. They could double one and then have one person working the other one, whichever one that may be. But it's a bit rough because down the bottom here, you've got no resources. There's nothing for them to work with. That was bizarre, but it works out in Biru's favor and dodges the injury there, which is great to see, Aussie.
Yeah, getting a cheeky reverse onto Bravo. Seeing Barry just getting tagged now, but the gens have no progress. Bravo has 4 survivors up with gens that have no progress. Honestly, this is a tough position because in comp, we'd like to see these survivors not being 4, but 3 instead. We love tunneling here because it slows down the game. It gets the killer more time, and we're just seeing the detriments that can cause, because having 4 survivors who were healthy, might add, but now some are just going down in this region, in the mid-map. Oh dearie, oh my. It is not going to be looking too good for Semipro, especially we keep getting these free tags here. Biru getting tagged again as Sonberg just tries to keep crawling up higher and higher up the map to try and get into a better position, but we're ultimately just going to be getting dragged straight back down to these bot gens. Bravo knows that the survivors don't have a lot to work with here. Pretty much the map has been bled dry. Down here at the bot side, there's no gen progress. All they have is the power of friendship and the healing. But getting found, Prada, mate, come on, we gotta be selling better than that. Bravo catching Prada out. And this is gonna be a huge spell for... Oh, we love a bit of ping, don't we, Smonk?
We do, and with that hook, that's the W for Flatline, 4-6. That's better than 6-2. And honestly, for something that's not their pick, they've done an exceptional work playing around this setting that should have really not been in their favor, being Semipro's pick. But it looks like we'll be seeing the tiebreaker of the Mastermind. But this still got to play out. Bravo, he wants to go for the best result possible, and based off of what we're seeing here, it's looking down the barrel of a 4K1, or at least at minimum high stages 4K0, and you can tell Bravo's very happy with himself. Considering that, no tunnel has happened and we're kind of just wholesome chungus 8-hooking here, like it's a pub, it's working out in our favor. Great dead hard from Songbird as well, so that will be excellent injury there onto Songbird with the dead hard, and that will be a final down. So we're at 8-4 now. We would truly have hit the wholesome chungus win con here, but I'm being pinged saying this hook is the win due to penalty, but no, the hook when it was 6 stages was the win because it was fresh.
No, Smoke. It was actually the hook onto Biru that got him the win because of the penalty, remember. Even though the freshers were greater, it still would have been 5.5 hooks compared to 6.
Point difference. Yeah. Stupid. Yeah, ignore me. Yeah, so 7 hooks. My apologies.
7 hooks was the win con, which we've seen. Bit of a wholesome chungus killer. Getting the full fresh, getting the 8 hooks. No tunneling's been done, and we're seeing the gen pop from a double from Semipro, I believe so. And then Reese is just going to be getting caught here. I think Bravo's happy with himself. He's played well. He's played for his win con, and I think that's a huge thing that people forget. Is that even though there is a set formula to most of these killer games, playing for the win con is ultimately what is going to win you the set. And as we see Beery die, bye Beery, off to the Entity's Labyrinth, and as we see Prada on the floor, I don't know if Prada actually has anything that can pick themselves up, meaning that this is the final chase, and Reese is getting a tag, sacrifice himself to get Songbird off, and letting Songbird just have one final hurrah of a chase for the 4K Zero Monk.
Yeah, there's one last chase here for the 4K Zero, but I don't know if they're gonna be able. I didn't see where the doors were, unfortunately. Oh, they actually are split here, so I think. Wait, no, everyone's dead. I'm on the floor. Sorry, I had to go respond to something. But yep, one 4K Zero coming right up on the side of Bravo. So well played to him. That's a really exceptional result considering that there wasn't really a ton of that at all this game. He was playing against all 4 survivors in the majority of the match, and yeah, excellent work from him, and a good effort from Semipro though. Like they tripled that gen at the start to try and just get that gen out of the way. Didn't want to deal with the 4 gen, but even then afterwards, they still had to deal with the 3 gen ban that they had at the Shack, which is a bastard to deal with, especially on Blight. Given his mobility, they lack resources down that side of the map as well.
Hello, OSL. Welcome back, and guess what? We have another McMillan map to play. Cold Tower 1, not Software Pit this time. We love to see it. Just ending off, we're going to have Bravo on the Mastermind for the tiebreaker. Oh my, am I excited to see this. We know Bravo in the past has shown incredible feats on the Mastermind. And with Beams from OC, we know Survivors also love Mastermind because here we don't like macro, we like fast, and we like micro. So as we're going to see loading into this game, Bravo, relatively simple build, the stock standard, and we're going to see Crank and Gloves. Pretty, again, relatively stock. This is a safe build from Bravo. We're not seeing anything too ambitious, no Beetle, despite the fact that Beetle's the funniest add-on in the game. We're not going to see it, which is kind of fun. But we just saw oh my god, we just saw Survivor stealthy in the edge map too, and we see another one stealthy near 1. So Bravo is able to capitalize. Prada not realizing Bravo was just going to break it, and oh my god, the ping does not go well with the finesse, lifing straight to main. Bravo in for a really good position here, getting that really early tag onto Prada. Even though we have a head on here, getting Prada extra distance, the little time that they have is not going to be working too well in the favor of Semipro. Prada in this chase injured, this getting caught relatively early. We see 2 gens getting split in the background. Prada getting into main building, going to be looping for his life. As we see these gens going from about 30 to 40, Smonk in this position, Prada is running the main, just absolutely staying at one of the strongest loops on the map, but just barely avoiding to get caught there. Bravo must be keeping himself for that one. But as a Prada going back to this one, making sure he's dying in the right spot, we know there's no gens here, and just gaining the stun there. Bravo, he's going to be beating himself up about being nosy. He got to get this early down here. Smonk, what do we think?
It's definitely really hard. Oh, excellent double back there from Prada. We do manage to catch out Reese's instead on the Jake, but with Prada being red, he might be still the prime target for the chase here. With him being red, being 4% slower, this entire chase is going to be a lot easier to catch, but it does look like he's trying to break away from main a little bit here. Power break as well. Brutal Strength getting a lot of work in this set, but it looks like most of our resources by main have been used. That head on there from Reese's bought Prada so much time and distance to work with here, but unfortunately, he will finally be going down at the T-wall, but it was not all for naught, as we did manage to pop 2 different gens there in the background as we were splitting two of the Shack side generators here. But looking at our pain resistors, they're not great. We have one hook over by 11 that we could hook on, but unfortunately it's a little bit too far away, so just having to opt for the mid hook here. Not that we should really be using a pain res at this point in time anyway, because we know that the 2 progress gens, they just popped. So pain res wouldn't do anything. It might hit a generator that's like 5% or so. Prada, during that chase, getting a little bit of revenge for getting kind of scammed with the Wesker hit. He had finesse as well, and it still hit him, which is just so sad. I would be unbelievably tilted if I was Prada, but Reese's also cleansing himself in the background there will reveal his position to Bravo. He's off in Narnia over by the edge map there by Shack, but we do find a decently progress gen here. I'm surprised Bravo hasn't opted to try and just apply Eruption for later, but with Prada's hook timer slowly ticking down, he's about at the halfway point now. We know that Biru is nearby, positioning himself for the unhook eventually, but Gen pressure's kind of slowed down a good bit. We see Biro now on a generator now, actually. He's still near the unhook, though. We have that bounce landing player working the main building, of course, but Reese is trying to bait chase away from the unhook, and this should give Biro a bit of a window to go for the unhook, but no, we're just sort of sitting generators. I'm curious to see if we're trying to go for a bit of a 1-for-1 here for Reese's. It does seem the comms coming in to just sit gens. He's going to try to go for 1-for-1, but with a little bit of a throw here. Ooh, excellent work there. Biro does get thrown slam against the wall, and he's not going to be able to go for the 1-for-1. This is a trouble idea, mate. You can't be doing that. There will be a down next to the hook there, and he's just going to go second as well. Prada. This is looking really bad for Semipro here, Nolsey.
Yeah, 100%. Even though we had that insane chase from Prada at the very start, Reese is giving him the head on there, but ultimately Reese is just going down there and narrowly avoiding that tag onto Biro. Bravo's going to be going back, knowing that the other survivor, he's going to be kicking the gen first. We all know the house maintenance is the most important thing. But going back to this tunnel out, making sure the game gets us 3v1 as soon as possible. Catching Prada, we know Prada isn't a balance player. He's a light finesse player. So getting tag, getting the stun as well. Endurance coming out, getting the life, but ultimately, Prada's in. Oh, Bravo just barely missing out. Not being able to get that down is so detrimental because now Prada's able to play the shack and buy so much extra time for his other survivors to be cranking these gens. Bravo really needed that down because, as we know, Prada is still pain res, and this gen at main, his saving grace as the 3 gen is going to be getting popped by Songbird. Main getting done now. Songbird just pumping those pistons, and we're going to see Biro trying to play altruistically for Prada. Just barely not going to be able to not have been on the gen, trying to go for a flashlight save. All the power to Biro, but it's just not possible. Prada exiting this trial. We have a survivor injured. We have a gen, our most prog gen is about 50%. Smonk, I don't know what much more the survivors can do in this situation because Biro just getting caught out there through the pallet. It's spelling bad news for the survivors of Semipro. Although the gens are split, these short chases will be truly detrimental, and the dwindling resources on the coal tower, I never thought I'd say that sentence, but the dwindling resources on the coal tower mixed with the brutal, not working with the flashlights, Biro going down. That's going to be another pain res, maybe potentially, I don't know. These pain reses have not been too kind to Bravo throughout the games, but this gen's regressed to 20%, and even though that we see a gen that's on 40-50%, he's going to be getting hit with that pain res. Oh me, oh my, there's not much more the survivors can do but pump the gens, making sure their rotates are great, really pinpoint when they need to go, because having that survivor injured and Songbird in chase right now, Bravo showing his patience but just barely avoiding the tag there. Smonk, what do we think Bravo has to do to secure the 4K?
Honestly, he's in a pretty prime position to secure the 4K. He has all 3 survivors injured. You might even be able to just leave Songbird here. This is our balance landing place. They're going to go up top, use balance landing, and rotate over to where there are a lot of resources. And Bravo, seeing that she's just gone up there now, he's probably figured out that actually, yeah, she's the balance player. She's just jumped out off the side there now and run off into the Narnia. But with Biro and Reese's being injured and infected as well, it's going to be really rough for them. But we finally get the dash there. But once more, okay, we've just slid off the rock there. That's a bit unfortunate. This killer sucks. We do have one more token up actually though, so that will result in the grab here. The pain res over in the jungle gym has respawned. We get a pain res on top of one of the actives too. It does look like we were splitting the gens as well. We heard Michaela scream in the background. That gives us an indication that Biru is actually over by 11 generator, and we found Reese's over by this filler pallet here. Unfortunate place before that initial dash there. They didn't quite go as far as we wanted, but pre-throwing the pallet here, that brutal strength should make quick work of that. And the best thing Biru can do here, I think, is just pop the 11 gen and call it a day. But no, Bravo has unfortunately missed his dash here. He went a little bit too hard, too fast, and missed both of his dashes. This gives Reese's enough time to sort of rotate over to this T-wall, and unfortunately stubbed our toe on a route there. And Songbird being unhooked in the background as well, but both of them going to get reset and healthy unless you just want a hard committed generator. And we've missed about M1 once more. That's such a shame. But we try to go for the fake, but Reese's, he's just on point. He's in Bravo's head. He has a crystal ball he's keeping under his desk, and he knows his every move. But with that throw against the edge map wall there, we will see the eruption coming through. That was Michaela once more. I know that was Claudette, my apologies. Getting hit with that eruption. But this is also the final pain res of the game. But unfortunately, no pain res is in a decent position unless you want to really greed this mid-map pain res, which I think is exactly what we're doing. We should just barely get it, which is good to see. But I do think Bravo's genuinely in an excellent position here to 4K, unless we really tone it down a bit, play it very slow. But we're so short on our resources, and we're just edging our our eruption there on this mid-gen. But so far, Nolsey, Bravo has been doing excellent work here, and he's in a prime position to go for a 4K1.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, if Bravo's able just to get this really fast down onto what looks like Beer, it could be in position for a 4K2 even. And bang, there it is. Love a bit of a quick double dash straight onto this Gen at 11, which we know was high prog. Thank you, Beer. You've delivered a gift straight to Bravo. Getting the down and getting the kick on the Gen, even though it was interrupted. The fact that we know both survivors are in the bot side still and injured and they're infected, they're going to be giving their positions away. And I believe we just see Survivor going up to 2 and we see Survivor running to Shaq. What looks like the best play, and we're just going to be missing out on the eruption. Should have edged just a bit more, Bravo, but the best play for Semipro to do here is get the unhook and try and pump that Gen out just to try and hope that it turns into maybe even a 4K0 if they're able to have enough of a chase to last for this bot mid Gen pop. And they're just doing that. They're pumping this Gen out. They want it done. This not being erupted was so detrimental for Bravo. Even though we do see Bravo dime, if Bravo decides to chase Reese's, then we're going to see the Gen. Never mind, this is Songbird getting caught out. If Songbird is able to put up enough of a chase, we're going to see the Gen at bot mid getting done. And that would ultimately lead to a 4K0, which is still a great result, but Bravo knows. He knows there's someone working the Gen. He's like, I would love to get this down right now, but it's not painers. The Gen's not erupted, and I just got to go for it. And Songbird, realizing that Beery's in chase, is going to be booking it down the map as Reese's tries just really... just getting mind game there. That's not what we need to see. Reese's getting slugged. Smonk, this is the 4K1 that we were predicting from the start. And as much as Songbird hopes and prays that the Gen can get done, clasping his hands together, just really trying to put piston to piston. Nah, unfortunately, we are going to see him getting caught out here. But is Bravo going to be techie with it? No, he's not. Just deciding to vault, getting the cutoff, and ultimately, we're going to see the down there leading to the 4K1 Smonk.
A very impressive result there on Mastermind. 4K1, usually this killer is out, so it puts Flatline in a prime position to have a bit of a repeat.
Also, fancying you guys here for the last match of Flatline v Semipro. We're going to see Semipro try to get a 4K2 because in the intermission, as a result of the DC, we're going to having to give them a minus 0.5 penalty because we can't have DCs, unfortunately. And despite the fact that we have been generally lenient towards it, ultimately it is supposed to be a penalty. So we have decided to give it to Semipro. Moving forward, any DCs will be considered as a low tier if it is in the endgame, just to make sure that it's the kind of kept up with what kind of judgment we give. But moving on, that's the nitty-gritty stuff. Let's go into the game. We see the Wesker build. That is the most Wesker build of all Wesker builds. The Brutal, the Eruption, the Painters, and the Corrupt. I love this build on Wesker. I don't think I've seen any other build on Wesker because that's how good this build is. Being able to be rid of pallets is Wesker's best accomplishment. But the fact that he's got a dash, which is so dangerous, that allows him to get these really fast tags and make survivors pretty much verse a not as great nurse, but just getting rid of pallets with Royal Strength is so huge, and it gives Wesker such an amplitude of additional power. And typical standard slowdowns with the Eruption and the Painters. Saki in chase, putting in absolute work. We see Bravo and Max doubling a Gen. Micah just getting on one, about 30-40%. And despite the fact Shaq's gone, Saki is still healthy. Prada knows he's just got to leave this chase, but the thing is, this first Gen that's getting doubled is still going to be complete, and there's enough distance to get to safety for both these survivors, leading Prada to be in a really tough position, not even getting the window vault there. Max booking it straight to the top of main, and there's that beautiful balance landing that we've decided to lay on Cold Town 1 because we love balance landing, and we love Cold Town, because we love McMillan maps in OSL. And I gotta say, What a map to put Wesker on. So many pallets, which Brutal just allows us to clean through, but with enough dwindling, like lack of resources that can happen in these late game scenarios, we saw from Bravo, and as we see Mike gaining chase, using that finesse life, might be given an early tag here. Unfortunately, yes, but no, never mind. We decided to find a nice little small gap that we can just throw Micah into. Prada being a really upstanding guy, not really tagging Prada, not really tagging Micah actually, but Micah gaining tag now, booking it down the map because we know there's 4 gen at the top. Despite having one of the gens pop, there's still gens that are top heavy and going down in this 5-6 corner. Oh my word. Smonk, what do we think of that? Excellent bit of macro.
They're doing. My apologies, my throat just gave out on me. They're doing a really good job here, Flatline so far. Micah taking the injury over here, and he's just making, again, man, I have a Moa Hill died corner there. Haven't used too many resources, which is really good. And we've gotten 1 gen out the way, which is in the middle, Max and Bravo as well. Very close to getting another gen out the way, but I think it'll be interrupted by this pain as, well, Max will be anyway. I thought that was a double, but it was actually 2 different gens, which is even better for Flatline. But they're playing around a win con of 4k1, so very much on track to sort of take this win away from Semipro very comfortably. We have a very tight 3 gen over here by the main building too. Unfortunately, we have just barely missed the dash there onto Bravo, but Max gen will pop elsewhere. This gen's super high progress as well, so I think eventually this one will pop, although we also did just get the main building out the way as well. So we've already broken this really aggressive 3 gen. There's a 3rd gen being done. Oh my goodness, Flatline are on top of it today. They learned from all their mistakes from the Ghoul set where they were 4k3 by Prada, and it feels like they've just switched on and gone, alright, let's get it on, and then they've done exceptionally well on both Blight and now Mastermind. They're just having an absolute runner, but Saki here I think will unfortunately go down, as I've said that, a bit of a caster's curse, my apologies mate, as he does go down at the Matchstick Tiles, and this will be a painers onto Saki, onto potentially Bravo's generator that he's desperately trying to work over it too. We're also on the hunt for Micah, who has rotated down to another generator here that is decently high progress, but I think this might not even be Micah. This has to be Micah. Max and Bravo are working 2 different generators. But Prada taking control of the mid-map here, trying to see if anyone is crossing for the save. We know that Bravo's working this generator, but he might just be able to get it done before Prada's able to interrupt him, and he does take the M1 there. I'm sure he's very happy with that trade there, but Max also working a hill gen over by main building. He nearly just walks back into that second dash there, but does manage to avoid it, which is great to see. Pre-dropping that pallet here, and we're going to be baiting the life for as long as humanly possible. We do go for the vault there, and we miss the M1. That's so sad to see. Now we're going to rely on our power here, but this box is going to make our life difficult. Well, might even just need to let it expire and try and get an M1, but no, we're able to make it back to the Paladin. He's doing an absolutely generational run, but unfortunately, this dash will connect and will result in an injury onto Max. Micah being fully reset in the background, as Bravo and Saki as well. So everyone's healthy, barring Max, of course, who is in chase, but going for the power throw there on the Philip power will result in the chase being extended even further, and now we're so far away from the final active generator, and we're just trying to play our 50s around this power, but it's not working in our favor. Brew strength breaking, and we're just going to zone Max up towards another resource here. Unfortunately, I don't think this power vault will mean anything. We should still be able to just greed that power, but we pay patiently here. Prada doesn't go for the swing, but we miss the M1, Nosy. It's all falling apart for Prada.
Prada really just trying to put in the best result possible, because I don't know if you were paying attention, but that gen popping at 2 was the win con for Flatline because of the penalty. So now Prada is just really playing for a bit of extra, confidence, bit of extra hooks, really trying to put up the best result possible. Even despite the rough start that they have, Prada is in a decent position and is definitely able to get a fair more amount of hooks. We got to thank the UI bug though. We did not know this gen was getting worked on by Saki. Thank you, behavior. Much obliged. But that being said, this gen at 1, 70%. We know there's another gen at bot, which should be around that, even despite the triple reset that came out and all the sprays, all the generator that got sprayed everywhere. We're going to see yet another gen 60 and number above 60%, because I'm not going to say it, because those 2 words should never be said together ever again after the meme. But my smog. Prada has really put in a really good performance tonight, and just barely not being able to achieve that greater result on Wesker, just from what we're seeing now, the 3 stages, 3 fresh, is not what we need. We need that 4K2 to win. But Prada, realizing they've lost, still having their head really high, just wanting to play for the best result possible, finding Bravo, chase him. If he's able to camp Bravo and tunnel him out, really just gain the best result he possibly can, despite the fact the game's lost. Bravo's still fresh, which means there is still room for Prada to even potentially get a 4K, even though the gens are pop. Prada, knowing that this is it, game's over, he's going to try his damnedest to get Bravo, just as a bit of revenge, bit of spite. He wants Bravo dead, Smonk.
He does, but he might have to settle for Max because he was in a worse position. But no, he very much wants Bravo here. Not only is he worth the most points, of course, being fresh, but he's also the killer player that has kind of done the Survivor team dirty. So it might be a bit of a vindication for him. But trying to get the double dash around Quante Young there, it's not going to quite come through here. As Maiko going to be just taking the body blocks for Bravo here. We've got to do this perfectly. Did we graduate from BBU with honors? And that we did, with a bit of a slam into Bravo as well, which is going to buy him even more distance. So it will be 3 stage 3 fresh on the side of Prada for Semipro, and unfortunately, even with this slam, it's all in vain, as we're just going to have to go for the 2 emote there. And